So I did all these, I sliced all these up, and I want to get some of these seeds and a little bit of the pulp out. So I've got this screen board that's actually made for beekeeping, and it just turns out that the seeds will go down through there. And I'm not going to do a big job, I just want some of it. I just want to get rid of some of the seeds. And you can see how the seeds, take a picture of that, go down through, but not much of the pulp does. And again, it's just a rough cleaning. I'm not worried about getting it all out of there. And of course, this is still going to get pasteurized before it's put to ferment. So I ended up, with that screen thing, I ended up using some water too to try to get as much of the, and you can see there's still a lot of pulp and a lot of seeds in there, but and I used hot water, so it's going to help bring the heat down just a little bit to the tolerable zone for most people. Me, I like it hot, but the person holding the camera here can't handle that. So I try to tone this down. So now we weighed this, and it was 9,070 something pounds. And then we multiplied that by 0.03, which gives us 3% for the salt amount. And that's what we've got here is the salt that we're going to use for that. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in here, and I'm going to layer it with the salt, just a little bit of salt, and I'm going to do it until it's all in there. Is I'm going to take my clean board and I'll use it to punch that down, and I'll squish it down. Go ahead and take a picture down in there too. I'll squish it down like I was making sauerkraut until it squishes juice out, and I want to get enough juice that it covers the peppers. So it's just the juice of the peppers. I don't want to add any water if I don't have to. With habaneros, I usually have to add a little bit of water, but I want to keep that down to a minimum because I just want to have peppers and salt. So when we started, this was almost overflowing with peppers. And then I cut them up and cleaned them out, and it was about like this full. And now I've pressed it down and beat it with the stick, and I have not added any water. I did rinse it, but then I strained out the water. I have not added any water. So this is the liquid from the peppers themselves, which is what I wanted. So then once it's ready, I'll just put a weight on it and it'll hold it down. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to heat this up to 180 degrees in order to kill any organisms that are in there. About 180, then I'll turn off the heat and pour it into the container that I'm going to use for fermenting. And we'll let it cool to down below 120, and then I'll add the culture. All right. So now that it's cooled, that whole 2 cases, so 20 pounds of peppers that filled up one of those all the way to the top, is now only a half a bucket of chopped up, basically pepper mash. And I put in 3% salt, and then now that it's cooled, I added my probiotic, and I just put in the smallest little scoop there, and then this is basically just a cutout from a lid of a bucket, and then this is a strainer thing that I use for beekeeping, for straining honey, and I cut the rim off. It's actually made to just sit in the top, and then you drip honey through it for straining out honey. But I cut the rim off so that it'll go down inside, and I can push it down, and it'll keep the solids submerged. And then push it down a little more, and then I put the lid on the bucket, and I've made a hole where I put a rubber grommet, and then I have my lock, my vapor lock, which doesn't have enough water in it now, so I'll have to fill it up before I finish, but then it would just go right there, and we're ready to ferment. And I'll probably let this ferment at least a month or two before I even look at it. I've got some other buckets going underneath there, and one of them is actually a habanero that I started 2 years ago. So this is the first habanero that I've done for 2 years. So there you have it. That's how I do that.